as I've been long. The Black Lotus clan sends their regards.
Is this a challenge? It's promise!
Your reputation precedes you.
Ha ha! Perhaps, but you're still just a pussy.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. You may have already heard by now that Amanda Serrano was one of only three figures from the combat sports world named in Time's 100 most influential athletes and sports figures.
Only three, and Amanda was one among them.
Reasons for it: she's tied for the most knockouts in women's boxing history with Christy Martin. 10 consecutive years as a world champion. She was the first woman to headline a fight at MSG alongside Katie Taylor.
Being a 7-time world champion, the first ever undisputed Puerto Rican champion.
Being in the most viewed women's boxing match in the history of women's boxing, and being the highest paid female in boxing history. Accomplishments that are often glossed over in the Twitter space, in the social media space, that reverberate a lot more in the real space, in the real world. And that's why she's in Time's 100 most influential, and Clarissa Shields is not.
I had to take it there.
Being a content creator, you're going to end up spending a lot of time online. And being online, I see this active effort, this push to marginalize the contributions of a Katie Taylor, of an Amanda Serrano, in place of the personal accomplishments of Clarissa Shields that comparatively haven't had the same impact on the sport, on the industry, that Amanda has had. And I think it's good.
I think it's better that Amanda got the spot than, say, Clarissa Shields, because Clarissa's too focused on the unbeaten, unblemished record and what her personal accomplishments are.
Because she doesn't seem to understand that it's not about having the unbeaten, unblemished record. It's not about being perfect.
It's about being a good advertisement for the sport. It's about being a good ambassador, and that's what Amanda Serrano is.
The article reads, born in Puerto Rico and raised in Brooklyn, women's boxing legend Amanda Serrano followed in the footsteps of her older sister, former featherweight champion Cindy Serrano. Since turning pro in 2009, she has captured 9 major world titles across 7 weight classes. Serrano's recent rivalry with Ireland's Katie Taylor has energized the sport and bolstered Serrano's reputation despite her losing all 3 matches. In 2022, the duo squared off in the first women's boxing match to headline MSG. Last year's bout in the same building drew nearly 6 million viewers on Netflix. Under the terms of a lifetime agreement Serrano signed with YouTube star Jake Paul's MVP in 2025, she will become the company's chairwoman of women's boxing initiatives when she hangs up her gloves. But the 37-year-old isn't done yet. After defending her World Boxing Organization and World Boxing Association featherweight titles with a UD win over Reina Tellez in January, Serrano defeated Cheyenne Henson on May 30th in El Paso, Texas, tying the record for the most knockouts in the history of women's boxing, and she's only 1 knockout away from breaking that record.
Let me tell you a little story about Amanda Serrano and why I think she's such a good ambassador for the sport, how I know it to be genuine.
So when I started talking about the women's game, way back when in 2016, at the start of the big women's boxing boom,
Here on the channel.
those of you that have been with this channel long enough will remember that I wasn't kind to Amanda Serrano. Time has proven me wrong, because I was not fair to that fighter.
I was a little bit too partial towards the Katie Taylor side of things. I have to admit that in hindsight.
Because in hindsight, time has proven Amanda Serrano right. That the fight between them was worth a lot more money at the time than Matchroom was willing to put up. I castigated Amanda Serrano for this perspective, for holding out for what she felt she was worth, because she felt she deserved more, and time has proven her right.
Well, that might make her a shrewd businesswoman, a savvy businesswoman, but how does that make her a good ambassador?
Well, that's where it gets interesting. Because Amanda Serrano has long been a supporter of this channel, even when I wasn't a fan of her, even when I was laying into her and castigating her.
She was still supportive.
Saying so several times as we corresponded on social media throughout the years, on the premise that this was one of the only channels, if not the only channel at the time, that was really covering the girls. On that premise, she openly stated that she's a fan of this channel and the coverage that all the other girls are getting on it, and that's the kind of thing that an ambassador would do. It would have been very easy for Amanda Serrano to write me off.
Call me a dickless prick and go to hell?
Could have did that, and she would have been right to do it. But she's a genuinely good ambassador for the sport. That's before and after the big-time promoters decided to take interest in the women, the big platforms.
She was here well before they were.
It's for that reason she's a better example of how hard work can pay off.
Better in some ways. Olympians like Clarissa Shields and Nicola Adams and Sky Nicholson, so on and so forth, when they enter into the paid ranks, they usually have the red carpet rolled out for them. They don't have it as hard as an Amanda Serrano, who doesn't come from the big Olympic amateur background, didn't have the red carpet rolled out for her, yet still managed to make a big impact, a huge impact in the sport. And I think that's a better example for even more girls out there, that you don't have to be perfect.
And you don't have to be unbeaten to become one of the most influential individuals in your field.
It's not about being unbeaten. It's nice if you can do that,
But don't overstate it, because the consensus greatest of all times in men's boxing wasn't undefeated, so why would it be any different for the women? I think it is an endearing story of perseverance that here at the very end of Amanda Serrano's career, she's getting her just due, making the kind of money that she always wanted to make, and making the kind of impact.
when she debuts as a professional in 2009, I don't think she imagined that she was going to have the kind of career that she's had.
Starting out, she probably just wanted to win a belt and make a little bit of money, enough to survive. Who would have thought?
She'd end up winning all these different belts across all these different weight classes, going undisputed, being a multi-millionaire. I don't think she imagined that's the kind of career that she was going to have when she started out. But look at her now. And I think that's a great example for a lot of girls coming through.
A better example than most of what they can aspire to and what they can achieve if they stick with it.
So while some might put a lot of emphasis on their unbeaten and unblemished record, thinking that makes them the best thing smoking,
There's a lot more to it than that. There's always been a lot more to it than that, because it was never about being undefeated. If you can do that, then great. That's nice.
but that's not everything, nor has it ever been.
Men's welterweight news. Romero is set to defend his WBA welterweight title this summer. Sources have told Ring Magazine's Mike Coppinger. A quote-unquote tough fight is not expected for Romero's first fight since his May 2025 win over Ryan Garcia. In that way, it's been a little over a year's time since Rolly last fought. All the while, he's had a mandatory in the queue.
From the moment he becomes world champion, Shakram Giyasov was his mandatory, up until recently, up until he was outclassed by the United Kingdom's own Jack Catterall.
Now, Jack is the mandatory, and Jack is none too happy, saying, "Pathetic. What are you waiting for, Rolly? When do you have this ridiculous run out? Don't be vacating."
Well, he probably won't have to, since the WBA refused to hold his feet to the fire.
In my opinion, Rolly Romero should have been stripped of the title a long time ago, since the WBA had already ordered a fight between him and Giyasov, but they didn't stick to their guns. They didn't stick with it. When the fight between them didn't happen, they didn't strip Rolly. They let him negotiate other fights with other fighters, like Devin Haney,
Like Manny Pacquiao.
both of which fell apart, resulting in over a year's worth of inactivity from what is their defending champion. If Rolly hasn't fought, it's not for a lack of opportunity, it's for a lack of trying, because you could have took care of your mandatory at any time, and you still can now.
He just don't want to, and the WBA's gonna let him. That's the problem. That's where the sanctioning bodies hurt the sport of boxing.
Two in particular that don't do enough to give the sport structure and move the ranks along. Instead, they seem to make up the rules as they go along.
To ingratiate themselves and line their pockets, these personal favors to their preferred promoters, none of which benefits the division, none of which benefits the sport. Do you think they're creating excitement at 147 pounds by giving this guy preferential treatment.
By allowing him to hold the title hostage and keep it out of circulation for over a year, so that when he finally comes back, he doesn't even fight the top guy in the ranks, he gets his pick of the litter.
Kiss a cherry.
Gets to have a tune-up fight when he wouldn't need a fucking tune-up fight if he had been fighting this whole fucking time. He wasn't otherwise injured or unable to compete. He just didn't want to fight his mandatory. Didn't want to fight who was out there.
He wasn't otherwise preoccupied, he just wasn't interested. And you let him.
Let him get away with this stuff like it's benefiting the division or it's benefiting the sport, that he's WBA champion and not somebody else. I can almost guarantee you. If Jack Catterall had that belt, it'd be in circulation.
Would have been defending it a lot more than Rolly's been defending it.
What is the benefit of giving Rolly amnesty?
What's the upside?
See, if they would have stuck to their guns and held his feet to the fire when they first ordered him to fight Giasov, I don't think Rolly would have the title now. Don't let Jack Catterall, outclassing Giasov, fool you. Rolly sucks.
Rolly loses to the both of them.
Irrespective of him not being interested in fighting for over a year, his very next fight should have been Jack Catterall or cough up the belt.
You don't want to fight, then don't fight, but you don't get to be a champion while you do it, while you sit on the couch. His next fight should have been Jack Catterall or nobody, and if you don't like it, drop the title.
Drop the belt, and you can sit out for as long as you like. Nobody can bother you. The way the WBA does it, they're helping him hold up the division. They're contributing to how stagnant and uninteresting it's become. So now, Rolly's gonna fight in a pointless fight to snap back the stint of inactivity the WBA let him have. And the WBA title's gonna be all tied up with that for the foreseeable future. Upstairs in the light heavyweight division, Dmitry Bivol may relinquish WBO title to pursue Artur Beterbiev or Beterbiev.
Dmitry Bivol may lose another world title. The unified WBA, WBO, and IBF light heavyweight champion was stripped of his WBC title last year for choosing to pursue a trilogy with Artur Beterbiev. The two Russians have battled 2 times in 2 razor-close contests, with the score 1 apiece, hence the desire for a decider. A back injury to Bivol put an end to talks of a trilogy, but after a year out of the ring, the Russian returned last month with a lopsided decision against overmatched IBF mandatory Michael Eifert. Beterbiev, now 41 years old, is still demanding a rubber match he believes he is owed.
Bivol, however, has another mandatory due. WBO interim champion Callum Smith, who's been out of the ring for over a year himself.
He ain't fought since a Buatsi fight at the beginning of last year.
He was supposed to fight David Morrell in defense of the interim title, but he suffered an injury, still managing to maintain his position as Dimitri's Mendo.
Ain't that about a bitch?
The clock is ticking on Bivol's decision: pursue a rematch with Beterbiev and lose his WBO title, or take on Smith, who, like Bivol, is promoted by Eddie Hearns' Matchroom Boxing. Beterbiev, the WBC champion at the weight, is also under consideration. It shouldn't be long, because obviously Bivol's finished his fight now, and we need to make sure that we move forward with the plans. Hearn told Boxing Scene, Dmitry wants the biggest fights in the sport, has had his title run out against Eifert as Mando, and now he's got to decide if he's going to fight Callum Smith or vacate the brown belt. There's a lot of interest in the Beterbiev fight in Russia. It's a fight that's important to Dmitry, I think. The Benavidez fight is a great fight, but so is the Callum Smith fight. And obviously, it's interesting having the both of those guys as our clients. So we've got to see what's next. And if he vacates, Callum Smith will be elevated to full champion. Not what Smith would have wanted, but he'll go out and defend that against a big name. So I think that'll be decided in the coming weeks. The current WBO rankings have Beterbiev at number 1, but should Bivol pursue the trilogy, the number 2 Joshua Buatsi, whom Smith beat on points in a thriller last year, would likely be ordered. A great fight, Hearn said, of Smith versus Buatsi too. I mean, the first fight was one of the fights of the year, so if that's a defense that Callum Smith has to make, no problem at all, but we'll see. I still like the Dmitry Bivol versus Callum Smith fight, if I'm honest, so we'll have to see what unfolds.
Kind of addressed this subject already. David Benavidez is not seriously in the running for a Dmitry Bivol fight because he just won 2 alphabet titles at a higher weight, and he's already petitioned to fight someone else, WBC Cruiserweight champion Noel Mikhailian. So that gets him right out of the way.
That ain't gonna happen, that was never gonna happen. Next up is Callum Smith, who's been out for over a year. Dimitri could make decent money fighting Callum, but not the same as he would make running it back with Artur. Right now, Artur Beterbiev in Russia is the most lucrative option for Dimitri. The ballpark figures that are out there for that fight are anywhere in the neighborhood of $20 million apiece for both fighters. You're not gonna get $20 million fighting Callum.
You ain't even gonna get it fighting David.
Nobody ever made life-altering money for fighting David fucking Benavidez.
You kidding?
Dimitri Bivol has already been a world champion for a very long time. Remember, he first picked up the title way back there in 2017. So he's already did the champion thing, the undisputed thing.
He's in his mid-30s now, so I figure he's gonna do the money thing.
To where if the difference between him making $20 million is dropping the brown belt, he's gonna drop the brown belt. Let it go to Callum. He can fight Artur for a third time. Then if he wins, circle back.
Then fight Callum for it.
Because there's nothing that says he can't circle back and pick up his old brown belt. I figure, if he drops the brown one, he could still get back the green one.
How? David's got it.
Yeah, and David Benavidez is at cruiserweight, with no intention of moving back down. The WBC knows that. And if there are enough zeros attached to that Artur Beterbiev trilogy, you don't think they want to crash that party? You don't think they want to be a part of that? If both guys stand to make in the neighborhood of $20 million apiece.
Of course they do.
Attach enough zeros to that Artur Beterbiev trilogy, and I figure the World Boxing Council will make that title available for them to fight for. They know David's not coming back down.
And he's about to fight for their version of the title at Cruiser.
To where they might vacate the one he has at light heavy, so they can make some money. They'll let him hang on to the belt at light heavy long enough to iron out the details for the Mikhailian fight at cruiser. Then once that's established, they'll vacate the title at light heavy so that Dimitri and Artur can fight for it. Remember, these guys are opportunists.
Now, as it pertains to the trilogy, Artur Beterbiev has not given himself the best chance of winning it by sitting out for as long as he has, because he hasn't fought since his rematch with Dimitri, and there's been ample time in there to schedule a keep busy fight. Currently, he's said to be a network and promotional free agent.
The Russians are said to be the ones interested in hosting the fight, with the IBA being at the helm of the promotion. The IBA have a show coming up, headlined by Murat Gassiev versus Tony Yoka. It wouldn't be a bad idea to get Artur Beterbiev on that undercard. Get him a ham and egger, somebody from around the neighborhood.
Nobody too dicey, nobody too dangerous, just a heavy bag for Artur to pounce on, because he hasn't fought in a while, and he needs to.
A rematch. A trilogy with Dimitri Bivol would presumably go down in either the fall or winter months. There's enough time in the summer, which just started, to get Artur out there and get him sharp, get him ready for the fall. That would be ideally how all of this breaks down. I don't know if it's going to,
but ideally that's how it would go.
Dimitri Bivol doesn't seem to have lost a step based on his performance against Michael Eifert, a fight that I think, if he would have hit the gas, he could have actually got Michael out of there, but it's perhaps better that he let it go the distance, that it went a few rounds, because he needed those rounds. He hadn't fought in a while.
So it's probably better that he didn't kill him quick.
In what was a mandated title defense that also doubled as a tune-up fight, allowing Dimitri to tune up before facing Artur again. The question is, will Artur tune up, or will he go straight in?
Cold.
Cold.
We'll see.